State House wants 10 billion to buy vehicles, and the justification is that this is a very busy election season. State House wants to buy vehicles. The justification on page 7 is that this is a busy election season and monitoring PDM. I was earlier on TV and I said, you see, especially you colleagues who are monitoring the president is not an extension worker who should be in sugarcane plantations. These are recommendations you should be making. You need to establish a serious extension work system that goes to sugar canes, to banana. But you have a head of state becoming an extension worker. The other day you saw him on a bicycle with Bisanja. This is ridiculous. But also you cannot justify buying of vehicles for NRM campaign and you put it in the national budget. That we buy him vehicles because he has a campaign period. And then I am also interested, Chairman, because this is at mainly the policy issues at this stage. My knowledge of State House under the Presidential Emoluments and Benefits Act is that actually it is a residence where the president and the family and wife should stay. By recommending that we put their money, you are committing a crime. That's what the law says. You provide the president with a limousine, with a escort vehicle, and a residence. So you're now saying we need to put money in the residence, including money for campaign. The other issue troubling me, Chairman, is the issue of KCCA. The other day you got staff there arrested. And the reason they were arrested is that they neglected their work.
KCCA?
Yes. And I'm talking about solid waste management. And you all know, at least all the MPs know, that year in, year out, they are requesting for money to deal with Kitaawe and the money was not provided. Now, they want the money for this landfill in Mpigi, it is not provided. And then tomorrow, I think the president has a way of covering up, he will get the new ones also arrested when another disaster happens. And these are ministries under the presidency. They also come to parliament to cry, and then he will say, you guys, you tampered with my priorities in the budget. So can I ask the chair, Mr. Chair Budget, to tell us why is this money provided, especially because these ministries are directly supervised by the president. So when you met them, what did they tell you? Because budget committee and you are now going to be accused of tampering with the priority. The one setting the priority does not think that garbage collection is a priority. He has given zero money. And you and I, we can only cry. So tell us, when you met them, what justification did he give, having appeared like he was very concerned when people died in Kitaawe? Then the RDCs have taken long. Some of the recommendations coming from committees should be to do away with all these. Let me start with these ministries for Karamoja, for Teso, for Soga, for what. This one, the recommendation would be just to do away with them. They are useless. And then you go to the RDCs. I don't know where this will stop. Just recently, you got another almost 500 appointed. And now you want the offices. So when will this end? As you construct for the existing one, the president is appointing new ones, creating an existing portfolio on the public service. So can't you recommend, will you feel bad if we recommend that first we reduce the RDCs? They are now like 600. We make them, when the president came here, there were 39 districts. We can have 39 RDCs. That's all, Chairman.
Chair, is that in the summary, the chair has very good justifications for all those recommendations. But when you go to the real report, which is signed by the committee, there are no justifications. So I don't know if the committee has to sign the summary also so that it becomes the working document of the committee, because it has justification, but the other one does not have justification.
Chair, Honorable, any documents submitted here should be signed and forms part of our record.
Chair, when you're talking about page 6, they are talking about sericulture project. Chair, I don't know if you are part of us, but I know Honorable Katesh was with us. We went and visited this project in Western Uganda, the sericulture project. There was nothing to sow at all. The man who was there was fidgeting to explain to the committee. Everything was different. The building itself was not there. The machines which were there were not there. And the only information we got from there is that the money he received from the government, he went and bought land in Waya district. His private land, not even government land. And we were asking him, he could not even explain. Now you are telling us you have a big chunk of land in eastern Uganda for sericulture. It's a very successful project. I am wondering whether your committee visited that project. That is issue number one. Because I'm not convinced, actually, if I'm supposed to recommend on this sericulture project, it should just be stopped. If somebody wants to do it, let that individual do it on his or her own. Otherwise, that money was a waste, because we visited the project ourselves, and I'm happy that the members of the committees are here who visited together. And that day, we really got so disappointed. We came back when we were very annoyed. Then, Chair, he's talking about NUSAP 4, and he said the government wrote to World Bank in March 2023. I think that's the wrong information. The information I have is that the first letter was written from Prime Minister's office on the 2nd of September 2024. I checked the copy here, to the office of the Minister of Finance, requesting that they should write to World Bank. And then the Minister of Finance wrote a letter on the 8th of October 2024 from the Minister of Finance to World Bank. Now, this NUSAP money, NUSAP 4, I still remember that the Minister of State for Northern Uganda gave us information on the floor of Parliament that it was going to start July 2022. It did not start. Then again they told us 2023, July, nothing happened. Now we are in 2020, they say 2024, July, nothing happened. We are now coming, we are in 2025, and this is affirmative action. What is the issue? Why are they delaying all this long? Because World Bank has been ready with the money, demanding that government should actually start the process and finish, and implementation must start. But up to now, nothing has happened. Even after meeting a lot more people in the Prime Minister's office, in the Ministry of Finance, they are not kickstarting this. Initially, they said it will start in January. Now, as the committee, what was the explanation? Then we are talking about the office of Northern Uganda and those affirmative offices. I have taken the statistics here. Luwero Affair has 46 districts. And then Tesho Affairs, 13 districts. Bunyoro has 9 districts. Busoga Affairs, 11 districts. Karamoja, 9. And the Northern, 48 districts. Now, when you look at the budget provided, even the budget for districts, which has 11, is more than that of 48. Let me give you an example. 2024-2025, the office for Northern Uganda was given only 5 billion. And this year it has reduced to 3.26. What is the criteria of giving resources? And also my question is, if you look at areas that have the Minister of State, what is the problem why you don't have the Minister of State for West Nile? Why don't you have the Minister of State for Acholi sub-region? But you have the Minister of State for Bunyoro, for Teso, for Luwero, for Busoga, Karamoja, Minister of State, Minister Cabinet Ministry. Why don't you have Cabinet Minister for Northern Uganda, then Minister of State for those other areas? That's my issue there. Then, Chair, the final one is about the executive order. Number 3. I want to find out from the committee. The President gave executive order number 3, which was handling the issue of cattle rustling, the commercial charcoal burning, and the balalo. The issue was discipline versus indiscipline. How far is the implementation? Is it budgeted for or not? And then page 7, you talked about presidential pledges. We have been providing money for presidential pledges. How are they fulfilled? What is the criteria? Can we now have the list for this particular budget? Which ones are going to be fulfilled, which ones are not? Because all the constituencies have presidential pledges. You wonder here after here, they are not fulfilled, and there are no any criteria of selecting which one can be fulfilled, which one should be left out. Thank you, Chair.
I have 2 observations. One is on the issue of prioritization there. And in this summary, you have asked us to look at the NDP4. That's one. Secondly, if you look at page 8, and you are pleading that more resources need to be provided, but you have no figures to talk about. Exactly do you mean when you say this training house should be supported and you have no figures you are talking about? Thank you.
To be made, there are 3 things. One is knowledge, the second one resources, and the third one the goodwill to put the knowledge and the resources into practice. Honorable Chair, the idea of having the skilling hubs is a very good idea. That for some of us who have been to these skilling hubs, like in Gulu we have one, you see the quality of training, you see the kind of people who get out, it gives a lot of hope. But Honorable Chair, you are skilling people, but these are people who have to go back and start to struggle through thick and thin, first to find what they need to utilize the knowledge. Just as my colleague has put it, the committee is saying State House needs to explore ways of supporting. It would have been good if the committee was a little specific on what needed to be done to have these young people empowered. Honorable Chair, would it not be okay if, because you're giving them knowledge, they are going back home, they even don't have the tools to implement the knowledge they have acquired, they don't have any startup capital. Would it not be okay to provide some funding? Because we know there is PDM, where our community members are accessing funds. But these skilled young people are a unique category. Yeah. Would it not be appropriate to create some fund in form of a circle that would target these young people who come through these skilling centers so that they are able to access the resources they need and put into use the knowledge they acquire? That is one. Finally, Honorable Chair, the other thing that he also touched on, you can imagine, I'll use the one of Acholi sub-region. For every cohort, for every lot that would be trained, a sub-county, every sub-county is sending about 2, just 2. But from what we have discovered, these trainings are so useful. And so why don't we also look at expanding so that we have more young people who are getting skilled, and also we create the fund basket that they can borrow money, use, and pay back. And that will take us a long way forward. Thank you.
Chair, when responding to that case, to these trainees is critical. I think that's really, in responding to that, you really have to speak to it. And probably the committee should provide us a figure and track.
Mr. Chairman, I need your attention. I just heard Abercha. You are recommending that we give them money. I don't know whether your committee has studied the investments we have made under that sericulture over the years, and whether you have a roadmap from the investments we have made up to productivity. But I want to draw to your attention to the to the National Development Plan. Because now, going forward, this is our Bible as Parliament. And that's why we need committees. We need the sector committees to be very, very serious and make sure when you come, you have asked everybody to align to this document. On page 360, sericulture is listed as one of the projects, and the status is pre-feasibility. So the amount of money you are asking, is it for feasibility study? Because here it is saying pre-feasibility, meaning that actually there is no feasibility study, and from what we have witnessed, indeed there is no return on investment over the years. So I'm wondering whether the money is for feasibility or is for cham-cham. Number two is the issue of all the return on investment. The vaccines we have invested in. Have you addressed yourself on return on investment? Because you see how constrained the budget is, and you are making recommendations that finance should provide this. But have you identified even where we can source this money? Are there areas of wastage in this sector where you think we can pick? Because your recommendations are totaling almost $1 trillion shillings. Where will we get it? Finally, on Chitezi, there was something about the private partnership. I think it was in the press recently. In your interactions with KCCA, is that program on? There was a private investor who was supposed to come in, but you are recommending for money. I think those are the quick ones. But majorly, I think your committee needs to address your recommendations and your initiatives to the NDP for as a matter of
course, I realize that this is important, but it's a duplication. ISO is part of UPDF. You have a college in Jinja. We have Chankwanzi. Do we need to pick out 31 billion in a leaping economy to put up a strategic school, or a school for strategic security studies? Yet we have a college in Jinja which we can utilize to do that work. There is a lot of English in your presentation. I want to remind you, my colleague, and the rest of us here, we are product of the people. The people no longer need this very serious English, strategic, intelligent. They need services. Whether you have intelligent transport monitoring system, they need the services. So we need to reduce on some of these concepts, and we actually reduce on English, and we increase on the doing. Otherwise, the vocabulary here is too much of English, which everybody says, this one requires funding. This is intelligence transport system, intelligence, but what is your voter in Isinjiro? What is my voter in Busia getting out of these intelligent systems? Thank you very much.
Good.
That was guided by Honorable Kadeshumba. Are you asking money for feasibility, pre-feasibility, feasibility? Because the NDP4 says you are at a pre-feasibility stage, or you are at the project is ongoing. How much have you received already? How much is spending? And how does it align to the amount indicated here? That means they should give you some documentation. So that when you come here, because now we are at policy level at the moment, but when it comes to the real, a month or two, when it comes to the real, we have to go by the Bible. We shall go with the Bible. Yes,
it is very important for us also to know that as a committee, it is true we visited Civic. Civic has expanded in 34 districts in this country. And Chair, in financial year 2022-23, we are asking Civic to give us the output, the return in investment. But you should also know that Parliament gave Agriculture money that is around, it was 43 billion and finance released 26.7 billion. That was not given to SILIC to implement their projects, to implement the activities why they asked for that money. The money was kept up to date. The same money didn't go back to consolidated funds.
What is the question? Yeah, I think you're asking the chairman to explain that.
Chair, I am asking, I want you to listen to me clearly, so that I'm giving information. This money didn't go back to consolidated funds, even when the year came to an end. Yes, even after expiring, but where is that money? It didn't go back to consolidated fund the next financial year, the last 2 financial years. And now, this money was supposed to support the agriculture project in this country. Chair, it is one of, agriculture is also in Sebei Kwen district. For us in Kwen district, it had started catching up very well. It was doing well until the money was denied by Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation. So Chair, even I want to interest this committee of budget that we should also follow out where is that money, because it didn't go back to civic. And we are asking now agriculture to tell us their return in investment. Chair, we visited several projects. We didn't visit agriculture that day. When we didn't visit agriculture alone. We even visited the Muranga, that is banana. We visited the Preside, etc. If we are saying that we want return on investment, we told Dr. Muranga in Bushenyi to peel for us matoke, just to peel. Give us a machine that peels matoke. But there was nothing that came out of the machine that was put there. And the money was given to Muranga. So is it that other people are small, others are big? So Chair, we are here. I want to tell you that for us people of Sebei, in the other side, SILIC is doing very well. And if there is a recommendation from Presidential Affairs to be supported, let's give chance. Like you can even see, if we follow that, we'll even say we don't need a university in Karamoja because Karachunas are raiding us in Sebei. But we are saying we are giving trials. So Chair, let's allow trials, and if this committee is serious, let them follow out where the money of SILIC went, so that we begin asking them return on investment. Otherwise, for that case, there is no any audit query that is asking people of SILIC to do anything. It is just allegation from the ministry. Maybe there is a misunderstanding and etc. So Chair, let's do balancing. It will be the only factor in Sebei, and for that case, we are not about to give up, Chair. I thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, Honorable Fajil says he's successful in Kwen. Please.
Sawa zino tuli mu kutunuulira budget nga bwe twetegekera okugiyisa mu mwezi okuva mu Gwokuna mpaka mu Gwokutaano gwa mukaaga. Zino ze ssaawa ze tutunuulira ssente emeka gavumenti zeetadde mu bitongole eby'enjawulo. Ekyewuunyisa, eggulo twabadde ne Katumba Wamala, minisita w'ebyenguudo mu Parliament, ng'aga nti ba contractors bonna tebakyakola kuba ati banaabasasula babanjanga 1.3 trillion. Naye chairperson akulira komiti ya presidential atugambye nti president yeetaagayo biliyoni 10 tugule emmotoka empya kubanga guno omwaka gwa campaign agenda kukola campaign n'endala atambuleko mu Uganda nga walambula PDM. Kyembadde mubuuzi wa president yafuuka extension work. Ekyokubiri nti president ayagala donation biliyoni 8 bamuwaddeko 5. Asatu mugamwongere agenda agabe ssente naye ng'abenguudo baga nti tebalina ssente n'emu. Azimbye ne ba RDC amayumba ne office. Kimane muza tulina ne ministries Busoga Affair, Rwenzori, Luwero, Northern Uganda, Ani, Teso, munazo bazongere ssente. Kimale nga chairperson nti Parliament yeteeko okwewamu ekitiibwa n'ekeera ebintu ebyo nga president kati mabega kawa yalonda ba RDC 305. Oleda wadde na RDC nga 3 katuna ba RDC nga 7 kwa district ziri 16 buli emu na RDC 146 ne ba assistant 146 abulamusi 28 yalonzeeyo 305 bw'ogenda Mulago lwali bw'osoma ripooti ya Auditor General intensive care unit erina ebitanda 27 15 bye bikola tebali bannansi babitambuza so kati priority ya Uganda yekituwesi president center agenda agabe azimbira baradisa amayumba agule emmotoka akole campaign nga intensive care unit Mulago ya bitanda 27 kuliko 15 ebikola kyembadde ngamba ni parliament erina okwewamu ekitiibwa kyobola Muhoozi yabavuma n'agamba MPs idiots clowns bye tukola byebyo
be allocated so that the presidency is given a good fleet, a smart, good, secure fleet. Under the vehicles, that is under the vehicles for the president. KCCA, yes, the garbage management in Kitezi, there is no funding for so many years. Yet we all come out to cry out. I think it's high time we all put down our feet and say, hey, look here, Your Excellency, and whoever is concerned, the priority setters, who I think here you understand, honorable members, and especially the chairperson and members, you all understand. It might not necessarily be you and me, but at least let's make an appeal, a very ardent appeal to the fact that we need to collect our garbage. We need to secure our garbage. We need to clean up our garbage. We need to ensure that we benefit from our garbage. All those are processes that we must all be looking at. We all need a clean city. When all of you visit Kigali, you say, oh my God, what is happening here? They even don't have actually a real garbage collection. It's just like any other landfill, but their systems are efficient. Instead of collecting 7 trips, they collect even 14. For us, instead of collecting 7, you collect even maybe half. Some of the vehicles are even old, and we are asking for very little money to say, let's ensure, let's put in our, let's do our work. Okay, let's make our recommendation. Let's make our recommendations and ensure that we put that money there as a priority. Other DCs, because district in the country, that's under Article 203, that the president will have a representative in every district of Uganda and with so many other blah, 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 assistants and what have you. So there is no question. We are not going to discuss a constitutional requirement. So they will be there, and wherever there is need, even more will be, I think, should be appointed. They are supposed to effectively represent the president where he is not. And they are doing their work, I think, so far so good. It's a the justifications. The justifications were actually derived from what we discussed. They are just part of the same. Only that for us, when I sat with the technical team, we felt we should justify, and the justifications are there, only that they are not clear cut out. Here we wanted to make it easier for the committee to understand and quickly internalize the report. Sericulture, yes, my colleagues have elucidated a lot more on sericulture. It's a very important project, especially for the areas Bushenyi used to do it. They were the first people, I think, to do it. Now, Sebe sub-region has started on it, and they are doing quite so well. The committee has visited that place, I think, 2 or 3 times in the last 2 financial years, and I think good enough. They are doing it. Let's give them that encouragement. Let's encourage them. And now that the cabinet has allowed it to come to president's office, so why not? I think let's not kill the president's initiatives. Should there be any problem, we are making arrangements to ensure that maybe your committee and our committee could interact quietly, safely somewhere with the president. And we have already contacted the Minister for the Presidency for more interaction with the HE. So anytime we call upon you to kindly come with us, let's all be there and explain. We are not trying to change any of his initiatives. We are only trying to build on them and encourage and enhance them. Nusaf, yes, you are right, Honorable. The letters, we don't have them there. But I can promise we are going to get you those letters. So that maybe we move on the same line. You are very right. I am equally concerned. Nusaf was doing very well. I remember one time when I was still a cow. Nusaf was the talk of the town everywhere. All countries were admiring that project. Eventually it slackened a bit, but then it was revamped a little bit. Now this time around we are saying this is the time for us. And honourable members, I want to encourage you, to beg you as a committee, let us revive these committees. Dr. Deep, NUSAF and NIP. These are very critical areas of concern, and they will bring about to transformation and fundamental changes in those communities, I can assure you. Northern Uganda, I think this time around, if we get it, the fourth one, we should no longer talk about poverty and the lack of service delivery in that area. Because let's all put our feet down together and say, this is it, Your Excellency, we want it, and means of finance. Then intervention to be undertaken during this one. The rest, I think we shall provide in writing. List of presidential pledges. Yes, that one we can also ask for it. I don't have them myself. It's very, very good. I also asked that question, but I don't know whether they brought the document. Did they? List of
what is important is in the
yeah,
money,
that one we can
the money you are
provide.
requesting now.
Yes.
What is the attachment to the 30 billion? So that we say no. I mean, these members, once they see their constituencies and their pledges from their region,
okay, that one I can assure you.
They just want to see how are they sequenced. All of us have been promised something by the Fountain of Honor. We want to see whether we are in the list, or we are in the next list for next financial year, or in another one.
I want to say I will give it a big try.
A case in point. Yesterday I raised it to Education Committee. When NRA came to power, there are trucks from schools. We have Pabo Senior Secondary School, we have Atiak Technical School. Their trucks were removed by the NRA to help them to fight. The president made the promise. Since 9th Parliament, 10th Parliament, 11, now we're going to 12, that they're going to buy buses now, not the trucks. But the schools are really disturbing us, and it is not fulfilled. Even when you raise to education, they tell you, oh, we are going to include it. They don't include it. You raise to presidential committee, they don't consider it. I have the letter. These are issues that we are complaining about also. Apart from...
Yes, he was talking about the startup for retooling, for supporting the graduates. We raised it in our committee, and we emphasized that one. And that's the little money that they put there. And we are also requesting that at least if a graduate gets that certificate, some of them are extremely very, very poor. They are from very, very poor background. At least give him a toolbox. Give her something to start with. And that's what we are asking for from you people. Katesh, Honorable Katesh, yes, that one was a very difficult question, of course, and my friends have tried to explain something towards that. One of them, I think, Honorable Kangwaji. No areas of misuse, of course. The misallocation, there is no misallocation. In all that, on all these sectors, I have not come across any misallocation as far as the funding is concerned. Kitezi landfill is still both, of course, it's still a very, very big problem to us, and that's what I've just talked about. We need more money to forget Kitezi, compensate those families that lost their loved ones and their structures, move to another site and start a new life after Kitezi. Kitezi needs a master plan. From Kitezi, we should do a little build back better. Honorable Ochaya, yes, why Buked? I also don't know why Buked is not there, by the way. I honestly don't know why Buked is not there. But we can also ask that question once again, especially when we are doing with the details. And I will actually request that maybe when we are meeting, he will be part of us. We ask why is Buked not included on this. Yet it is also part and parcel of the eastern part of the region that is a little bit underserved, still being bedeviled by poverty, and that was a genuine concern. My secretariat has captured that one. Honorable Nyangwese, please kindly, in another meeting, kindly don't mention what you have said here. I'm sorry to say I'm not your chairperson, but you are a good colleague and I know you very, very well. If you really ignore security under any circumstances, you are preparing for disaster. Look at all the areas that surround us, those areas. I've been to some parts of Central Africa. They ignored this part of the equation, security. How do you have a country with 700 LDUs you call an army, a national army? Coups, counter coups. Like your chairman said, if you want to prepare for insecurity, then ignore security. Security is a fundamental aspect in our lives, and especially during the current trends, national, international trends. Why is America so powerful? It's because they have ensured. Why is Israel a very tiny country?
I have guests
So
waiting.
I think security is a must, and we must spend even a lot more. The rest were adding on and subtracting here and there, and I want to thank everybody who has made a contribution to the successful
Thank you, Chair.
presentation of this
Yes.
report. I thank you so much. But
Yeah,
before I
since
end,
you are-
Mr. Chairman,
yeah.
I would like to request my vice, who was a little bit late. Shillings 53.033 billion is provided for in the MTF ceiling, resulting into a funding gap of Uganda shillings 30 billion Uganda shillings. That's very terrible. And remember, most of our areas, we have something we demand in as far as the presidential pledges are concerned, almost everywhere. So this money we are recommending that Uganda shillings 30 billion be provided to State House to facilitate the fulfillment of the presidential donations. It's very important that this one also be seriously looked into. And the justification is unfulfilled presidential pledges were among the key budget execution challenges to State House year in, year out. This is not new, and it has been in and out over and over again. 2, the committee also is in receipt of complaints from different leaders and individuals over several unfulfilled presidential pledges and donations, which are both of public and also private nature. 3. Unfulfilled pledges that span beyond a particular term of office may negatively also impact on the image of the fountain of honor, and therefore calls for enhanced allocation. 362, retooling of State House. The committee established that State House has an aging fleet whose maintenance costs keep increasing every year. Members may note that the country is getting into a very busy election season, and the monitoring of PDM, that's Parish Development Model Program, countrywide, and this requires roadworthy transport equipment. State House requires Uganda shillings 10 billion, but only Uganda shillings 4 billion is provided in the MTF ceiling of vote 002, resulting into a funding gap of Uganda shillings 6 billion. Mr. Chairman, the committee recommends that shillings 6 billion be provided to vote 002 to facilitate the retooling of State House. And the justification is that the aging fleet compromises the security of the fountain of honor. Number 2, maintenance costs of the aging fleet are also extremely very exorbitant. Under 363, support to the graduates of skilling programs. The committee recommends that State House explores avenues of supporting the graduates of the skilling program, and also expand industrial hubs to other parts of the country. The justification is that the objective of the youth skilling program is to impart skills in the youth so as to get engaged in productive employment to improve their livelihoods and welfare. The youth are skilled in tailoring, welding, carpentry, bakery and confectionery, shoemaking, hairdressing and makeup, weaving, embroidery, plumbing, construction, knitting, electronics, electric installation, and motor vehicle mechanics. Bullet 1, the 19 industrial hubs are not adequate because of the high number of the youth in the districts who would benefit from each of the industrial hubs, resulting into leaving out most of the unskilled, uneducated, and unemployed youth. The graduates remain unemployed due to lack of startup capital. We therefore recommend that this money be put in place. Vote 107, Uganda AIDS Commission. Our observations and recommendations are as follows. Interventions to reduce HIV new infections in Uganda. To reduce HIV new infections in Uganda. The committee established that dissemination of HIV prevention messages to reach the vulnerable members at the community level in a cost-effective and sustainable manner through mass media, advocacy and community engagement requires Uganda shillings 40.2 billion, but only Uganda shillings 2 billion is provided within the MTF, resulting into a funding gap of 38.2 billion. The committee therefore recommends that Uganda shillings 38.2 billion be provided to vote 107 to facilitate the packaging and dissemination of HIV prevention messages to the general population so as to create AIDS awareness to reduce HIV new infections. The justification is that the reversal in the trends of the said indicators speak to the fact that HIV epidemic remains severe and is still a real threat that calls for urgent intervention. The data indicates that actually it fluctuates between 4.9 to sometimes 6.5, and that is very, very dangerous. Instead of reducing, it is even sometimes going up, and that's extremely very dangerous. So this money is extremely very, very important. Number two, issues of HIV/AIDS scourge are a behavioral phenomenon, and therefore interventions to enhance the dissemination of HIV prevention messages are very important and very critical and urgent. Vote shillings 2.2 billion is provided for in the indicative allocation, and thus need for provision of Uganda shillings 1.9 billion to cater for the funding gap. The committee recommends that Uganda shillings 1.9 billion be provided to URI to upscale the Nakawa Incubation Center financial year 2025-2026. The justification is that whereas URI has made progress in the incubation of business through the expansion of the incubation portfolio, there is high demand for incubation services and thus need for upscaling the Nakawa services and thus need for upscaling the Nakawa Incubation Center to accommodate the various business needs currently in the country. 562, technology, innovation and value addition. The committee recommends that URI be provided with additional Uganda shillings 2.99 billion to facilitate the commercialization and value addition, commercialization of 0.92 billion and value addition of products, Uganda shillings 1.33 billion, and in addition carry out industrial trainings 0.74 billion to ensure that we go to the standards that we really require as a country that is aiming at industrialization, full industrialization in the next 5 years. Justification: there is a need for there is a need to commercialize and transfer new products such as FM radios, robots, and other technological products made at Namamve. This requires Uganda shillings 1.82 billion. However, only Uganda shillings 0.9 billion is the indicative allocation. That's a gap of 0.92 billion in the funding. As I already indicated above, the others actually are clear cut. It's just almost a repetition. 5.63, research and development. The committee was informed that URI requires Uganda shillings 6.42 billion for research and development. However, the indicative allocation provides for only Uganda shillings 1.45 billion, resulting in a funding gap of Uganda shillings 4.97 billion. The committee therefore recommends that URI be provided with additional Uganda shillings 4.97 billion to enable them to carry out research and development activities which are key to their mandate. The justification is also very clear. Vote 112, ethics and integrity, observations and recommendations. And retouring of the Directorate of Ethics and Integrity, the committee established that these interventions require Uganda shillings 1.5 billion, but only 0.65 billion is provided in the MTF ceiling of vote 112, resulting into a funding gap of 1.435 billion. The committee therefore recommends that shillings 1.435 billion be provided to vote 112 to facilitate the retouring of the Directorate of Ethics and Integrity. And you know, we need all these, we need these people, ethics and integrity. Vote 158, Internal Security Organization. Our observations and recommendations. 761, facilitation to internal intelligence collection. The committee observes that the implementation of the identified interventions aimed at mitigating the said threats requires Uganda shillings 140.192 billion, but only 97.287 billion has been provided in the MTF for this vote, resulting into a funding gap of Uganda shillings 42.9 billion. The committee therefore recommends, Mr. Chairman, that government considers provision of additional Uganda shillings 42.9 billion to enable internal security organization enhance recruitment of agents to avert increasing threats of terrorism, corruption, cybercrime, which is the latest, livestock raids, and negative foreign influence in order to strengthen the foundation of security in Kampala, metropolitan areas, and hotspots countrywide for wider coverage. The justification is that the threat levels in the country have increased. These threats are in form of organized crime, cybercrime, and incidents of livestock raids in Karamoja sub-region and in neighboring districts, cross-border incursions, terrorism, negative foreign influence, and corruption in the MDAs, and threats to the oil and gas industry. Hence that need for more agents and more increased presence in those areas. 2, another justification is to contain the increasing threats. ISO has initiated a number of strategies that include expansion of operational networks and centers countrywide through strengthening security in Kampala and the metropolitan areas, urban centers countrywide, increased coverage in regional districts, border sites, cities, councils, counties, municipalities, among others, the whole country, that is. 762, enhancement of technical infrastructure. The committee observes with concern that the shillings 30.1 billion is required to enhance the operational capacity of the new technical equipment, Uganda Aerial Vehicle Signal Intelligence, and to ensure effective maintenance, conduct specialized training, and strengthen cyber security for enhanced technical intelligence operations, but only Uganda shillings 3.48. There was a requirement of 30.1, and only 3.48 was provided, leaving a gap of 26.67 billion. Our recommendation, Mr. Chairman, is that government provides Uganda shillings 26.67 billion to ensure that the internal security organization enhance its capacity to operate the technical equipment that is available, but we need to get it working, to get it operational, so that our security as a country is enhanced. The justifications are very clear there. 7.63, for security and strategic studies. The committee established that ISO requires Uganda shillings 23.014 billion to construct the Institute of Security and Strategic Studies, but only Uganda shillings 0.5 is proposed under the year 2025-26, resulting into a funding gap of Uganda shillings 22.964 billion. We recommend that government provides Uganda shillings 22.964 billion to this vote to enable internal security organization construct the Institute of Security and Strategic Studies. The justification is to establish a modern training facility as per the international standards. The facility will act as a center of excellence for building human resource capital and furthering of regional integration, furthering of the regional integration ideals, in addition to addressing the high cost of training abroad. The training operatives outside the country is very expensive, and therefore there is a need, and there is no confidentiality, by the way, when you train outside. And since the skills imparted are known to the outside world, and it is itself a security threat. So if we have our own, it will be our own, and indeed our Vote 159, External Security Organization, ESO. Observations and recommendations. Foreign Intelligence Management, under 861. The committee observes that the current security situation in the ring states and the rest of the world, the ring states, those around us, the rest of the world, including Democratic Republic of Congo, Ethiopia, Somalia, Angola, the Middle East, and Far East, among others, necessitates enhanced monitoring by the deployed staff, auxiliary staff, and technical solutions as well. This intervention requires Uganda shillings 68.178 billion, but only Uganda shillings 45.354 billion is allocated, leaving a gap of Uganda shillings 22.824 billion. This is very big indeed. The committee therefore recommends that Uganda shillings 22.82 billion be provided to enable the external security organization efficiently and effectively manage classified sources of external intelligence collection, maintain foreign diplomatic stations, foreign strategic areas of interest, and of course field stations. The justification is to effectively monitor and counter emerging external security threats. ESO plans also to maintain foreign diplomatic missions, foreign strategic areas of interest, and also field stations, including deployment and maintenance of officers. 862, retooling of external security organization. The committee established that retooling ESO requires Uganda shillings 29.886 billion, but only Uganda shillings 0.702 is provided under this MTF, leaving a gap of Uganda shillings 29.184 billion. The committee recommends that 29.18 billion Uganda shillings be provided to seal up this gap because of its importance. Justification is mainly to enhance ESO's technical ability and capacity through acquisition of modern technical and transport equipment, as well as classified assorted assets. You all know very well that these gadgets change every other year. The gadget you bought 2 years ago become obsolete, and you may not be able to collect the necessary data and information. Two is also to the identified funding gap of retooling of ESO constrains the organization ability to address the ever-changing security environment, where the new intelligence threats call for immediate responses. You all know this. There is need also for enhanced technical capability in the form of acquisition of modern technical and transport equipment, as well as classified assorted assets for foreign missions and strategic deployments. 863, construction of ESO headquarters. Those of you may know very well that ESO headquarters is just across the road here, within the, it's actually engulfed in high-rise buildings, so there is no security really in that place. But anyway, construction of ESO headquarters, that is under 863. Information availed to the committee revealed that the cost of constructing ESO headquarters amounts to Uganda shilling 77.127 billion, 125 billion, and the intervention is to be implemented within the medium-term form from financial year 2025-26 to financial year 2027-28. The committee established that ESO requires Uganda shilling 31.324 billion to kickstart the construction of ESO headquarters, but there is no indicative allocation in MTF ceiling, and hence the funding up of that amount of money, 31.324. The committee recommends that 31.324 billion be provided to vote to this to vote 159 to kickstart the construction of external security organization headquarters in a more secure location. Justification: high-rise buildings have been constructed overlooking the current headquarters, making it difficult for ESO to maintain privacy, security for both staff and also, of course, the facility. The high rent expenses that currently amount to Uganda shillings 1.2 billion annually increases the cost of transaction and has made deployment of staff to different locations very difficult. Vote 167, Science, Technology and Innovations. Our observations as a committee and recommendations. Number 1, under 961, establishment of Uganda Park is projected to be implemented in 4 phases in the period of 4 financial years. Phase 1, that involved the establishment of Biosciences Park Strategy, Master Plan, and NMR facility design, is an ongoing activity since the financial year 2023-2024. The committee observes that in financial 2024-25 stroke 26, STI plans to undertake phase 2 activities that include establishing access roads, water, electricity, last mile fiber and civil structures for R&D labs, NMR, National Biobank, BSL4, and Animal House and manufacturing lines at Uganda shillings 50.5 billion, 59, sorry.
Chairman, the report supplied to us by the committee is 54 pages.
This one has 21.
The summary is 29. Maybe I am only requesting you to ask.
Mr. Chairman, of establishment provided for the Biosciences Park to provide a one-stop center for highly specialized common user facilities to support Uganda's pathogen economy and connect researchers as well as enhance research and development. Create a one-stop center for these scientists. The justifications are very clear. Under 9621, priority setting in science, technology, and innovations. And here we recommend that the committee recommends that, save for emergency interventions, STI undertakes reprioritization and selects fewer and manageable projects for funding to completion and not leave them halfway, and bring on board others after the selected ones have been exited. The justifications are also very clear-cut. And now I go to vote 023, and that is Ministry of KCCA. Our observations and recommendations. Under 1061, inadequate budget provisions for physical planning and urbanization. Here we are recommending that government enhances the budget allocation in the medium term and have shillings 4.2 billion provided for the Ministry of Kampala, Capital City and Metropolitan Affairs to facilitate implementation of activities under physical planning and urbanization. Under 10.62, retooling of the Ministry for Kampala Capital City and Metropolitan Affairs, Mr. Chairman, we noted a gap and we recommend that Uganda shillings 1.2 billion be provided to the Ministry of KCC for accommodation and the procurement of assorted office equipment such as furniture and computers during the financial year 2025-26. Vote 122, Kampala.
Mr. Chairman, are you aware that in the supplementary before this committee, that money has been provided?
Despite the calamity that befell Kitezi landfill in August 2024, solid waste management continues to receive the same allocation as the previous financial years. The committee was informed that indicative allocations for financial year 2025-26 budget covers only wages for casual workers, the silting of drainages across the city, and fuel for garbage trucks. The committee established that Uganda shillings 10 billion is required for garbage collection, fuel, but only Uganda shillings 6.6 billion is in the indicative provision, resulting into a funding gap of Uganda shillings 6.4 billion. This can only facilitate one running trip per day for the 37 trucks against the required 2 running trips per day. Instead of 7 trips per day, because of the funding gap, this truck can only ferry 1 trip for only 1 trip. So you can see the gravity of the situation, honorable colleagues. The committee was informed that KCCA requires Uganda shillings 45.6 billion to operationalize Buyara landfill in Mpigi district in form of landfill sales, Uganda shillings 20 billion, wall fence, Uganda shillings 2 billion, access roads 16 billion, land gas capture 3.8 billion, and new leachate treatment facility 3.8 billion, but are not provided for. All these that I've talked about are not provided for in the indicative allocations. So the problem will still continue. The same disaster is likely to occur. The committee therefore recommends that Uganda shillings 1.08 billion, of which landfill development at Buyara is Uganda shillings 45.6 billion, and the commissioning of Kitezi landfill is Uganda shillings 14.4 billion, and the compensation of the affected persons, those are 48 households erased by the waste slide, Uganda shillings 8.1 billion be provided also to vote 122 financial year, and other interventions in the medium term to enable KCC to deliver on its mandate. The committee further recommends that management of Kampala Capital Authority explores the possibility of investing in sustainable waste management through recycling. The justifications are very, very clear there, and we can go through them. Physical planning of the city. The committee established that the required funds to implement the Kampala Physical Development Plan amounting to shillings 10 billion, but only Uganda shillings 0.50 billion has been allocated to vote 122, leaving a gap of Uganda shillings 9.5 billion. The committee therefore recommends that the development plan as a critical intervention, and recommends that Uganda shillings 9.5 billion be provided to vote 122 in the financial year 2025-26 to facilitate the implementation of the Kampala Physical Development Plan. Everybody cries up of the physical planning situation in the city, and this is the reason we are recommending an additional 9.5 billion to be provided. Nganda 11, 6.63, maintenance of drainage infrastructure in the capital city, we have a funding gap here, and the committee recommends that government expedites implementation of the Kampala Drainage Master Plan, which was done in 2026, to facilitate flood mitigation and public safety, health and sanitation benefits, economic and infrastructure protection, and of course environmental sustainability. The justifications are also very clear and can be well read by members. Vote 003, Office of the Prime Minister. Observations and recommendations, Mr. Chairman, under 6.1, 12 under 6.1, the budget enhancement, the Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Ministers, Government Chief Whip, and Ministers or Minister for General Duties. The Office of the Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Ministers, Government Chief Whip, and Ministers of General Duties plan to undertake interventions aimed at strengthening coordination, monitoring and reporting frameworks and systems through interministerial coordination meetings to address bottlenecks, undertaking on-spot field monitoring and supervision and implementation of government policies and programs, hold community accountability forums, coordinate legislative agenda, and of course government business in Parliament, among others. Yeah. Here, the Prime Minister's office, under that item, we provide, there is a provision for 36.66 billion. They provided 24.66 billion, and there is a funding gap of 12 billion. And this is our recommendation. The committee recommends that 12 billion be provided to fill up that funding gap. Under 12.63, the development expenditure category budget for financial year, development expenditure category budget for financial year 25-26. The committee established that there is no proposed allocation to external development financing expenditure category in the financial year 25-26 to the medium term. The committee was informed that lack of financing to the external development expenditure category is on account of the completion of development response to displacement impact project, that is Dr. Deep Development Initiative of Northern Uganda, DINU, and Northern Uganda Social Action Fund 3 in June 2024. The committee established that Dr. Deep became effective on 29th June 2027 and was expected to close on 31st December 23, but received an extension of 6 months up to January 2027 and closed it on 13th January 2024. In its oversight role, the committee established that Dr. Deep, DINU, and NUSAF 3 significantly impacted on socio-economic services and infrastructure, sustainable environment management, livelihood enhancement programs, food security, and trade opportunities in communities of operation. It is the finding of the committee that interventions of NUSAF, Dr. Deep, and DINU played a significant role in the efforts to transform socio-economic transformation and economic empowerment of the communities. The committee finds it prudent for government to negotiate for successor projects in this regard. The committee established that the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development wrote to the World Bank on 3rd of March 23, indicating NUSAF 4 valued at 276 million and successor project to NUSAF 3 as one of the projects that are prioritized by government for funding in the financial year 24-25 under IDA 20. The committee appreciates government efforts in this regard. The committee therefore recommends that Office of the Prime Minister expedites negotiations for successor projects of Dr. Deep and NUSAF 4 in the finance, and DINU, of course, in the financial year 2025-26. I think this concerns all of us.
Summarize.
Finally, Northern Uganda portfolio. The other ones are 1264 under commitment to affirmative action. These are regional ministries of Northern Uganda, Teso, Karamoja Affairs, Busoga Affairs, Ruwero Triangle and Rwenzori Affairs portfolio. And here the committee recommends that government provides Uganda shillings 20 billion to vote 003 to facilitate economic empowerment of the vulnerable communities in those regions, especially Bunyoro sub-region, Karamoja, Teso, and many others. The notes are very, very clear, and mainly we are supposed, it's meant to strengthening those livelihoods in those vulnerable communities.
Did you, Chair,
Finally,
Chair,
strengthening existing disaster response.
Mr. Chairman, for these regional development interventions.
Come again?
For these particular regional development interventions, did you try to link them to the NDP? Are they speaking to the NDP initiatives?
Yeah, we did.
NDP for which you have just passed.
Yeah, yes, we did. We tried to align. We tried to align them. We did. And details will also if you need them, we can give them to you. Finally, the strengthening existing disaster response capacities in Uganda. You all know we are a disaster-prone area, and most of our communities have been hit by disasters. So here there is virtually no money allocated. The only money available is put under President's office, and here we are recommending that government provides Uganda shillings 30.258 billion to Program 002 Disaster Preparedness and Refugee Management, Office of the Prime Minister, as a subvention to Uganda Red Cross Society in financial aid to strengthen and sustain an efficient community-based disaster preparedness and response mechanism. How you get it? Because you all know at the end of the day, when the disaster befalls your community, the first responders are always who? Uganda Red Cross. So here we are making some provision that if you, in your wisdom, can find a gap and provide at least 30.325 billion, the justification is very, very, very well put, and it would make a lot of difference to our communities who are prone to most of these communities. Of course, the rest are very easy to read, and you can easily look through. Conclusion, Mr. Chairman and honorable members, the committee appreciates total funding gaps in all MDAs under this jurisdiction, but is also alive to the challenges associated with the resource envelope constraint. The committee therefore calls upon government to consider enhancing allocations to the Presidency, KCCA, and Office of the Prime Minister in interventions it has deemed critical, as highlighted in the report. I now move that considering the observations and recommendations of this Committee on Presidential Affairs, the Budget Committee adopts this report, and accordingly I beg to report. I thank you for your attention.
Uganda Eyenkya.